Okay, we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Games Industry Executive Summary. I'm Casey, and with us today we have the exquisite Manu Rosier. I changed it up a bit, and the dashing Dave there.
Well,
I'm in Norway.
He got to
You're
change.
still dashing, as
Okay.
always. You'll always be dashing, but we're continuing to figure out Manu's nickname here.
The core.
Yes, I'm in Norway on vacation. I'm sure you can see my background. I have a problem. I forgot to bring my laptop charger. I'm currently at 85%. We'll see if we'll survive. I'm using like 2 iPhone chargers attached to the laptop. So I'll jump into it immediately. And you guys let me know what's up. So the highlights for this week, and I want to start with the second one because I feel like it's more interesting. So Disney has a problem. Kids are watching YouTube instead of Disney Plus. What's up with that?
YouTube's a dopamine machine. Manu's disappeared. It's YouTube moves fast, both in terms of watching different stuff if you're bored with the thing that you like, that you are watching, and in terms of the content itself. And that's just, it fits with kids' manic little brains. And they get a little more control over it. And it just, getting them to sit down for a 20-minute show can be a little difficult. It's not what they choose.
But by the way, Dave, I feel like this is interesting. I mean, as a grown-up, I don't see enough value in Disney Plus as an example, because I kind of like bench watch everything I need, and then I kind of like cancel my subscription, and then sometimes there's a movie or something that shows up, and the price is like what is it, $10 these days? I subscribe and immediately cancel my subscription just to watch a movie or to watch like a part of a series or whatever, and then I move on, and then I come back when I need to. I'm assuming these people are smart enough to figure that out. But is this viable long term?
Yeah, I think they've been having trouble growing, certainly. I mean, I think that part of their business rests on people like me who are too lazy to do that. So I'm just never going to get it together, right, to do the unsubscribe, resubscribe thing. So that is, I think, a core pillar of the streaming business overall, especially now the kind of multi-channel streaming business. But that's a big risk that they fight. They fought that since the beginning. If you're gonna tie yourselves to anchor shows and anchor movies, then people are just gonna want to watch those. I mean, and we see the same thing with Game Pass, right? That's why I think that they're one of the many reasons that they are doing the shift with day one games, is because they don't want it to be as easy to simply sign up, pay $10 for a day one game, and then disappear.
Interesting. Anything else you'd like to add, Manu, on this one? Oh, are we having difficulties? Oh, we can't hear you, actually.
Yeah.
You know what? While you fix that, let's move on to the next item here, because obviously my batteries. I started today with 100%. Now I'm 83%. Sorry about this, by the way. Okay, so the number one item, touchdown for EA Sports college football. Is this the first time they release a college football game?
No, they used to have it.
They used to have it.
Yeah, and then I think if I recall correctly, the argument was that the licensing was just such an incredible mess, because you're dealing with a volume of teams that is just an order of magnitude larger than the NFL. But they got it back together.
I mean, Dave, you might know more about football. Well, quote unquote football. Obviously, for us Europeans, this is not football. Yeah. Why is college football so important in the U.S., or why is it so popular?
Well, I think there's a lot of places, and this is a very complicated question that I think people have given a lot more thought than me. But I think that there's a lot of places where kind of the university forms a really important part of the identity in a place. And it becomes an extension to that. Also, it's an easier dream for a kid to play high school ball than it is to play NFL, and then it's an easier dream for them to play college ball and NFL as well. So it's just a little it's easier to conceive of like of going to one of the Big Ten or something, as opposed to the idea of playing for an NFL team is functionally impossible. So those are both part of it.
By
Should
the
we
way,
keep doing this?
we should absolutely keep doing this. And by
Okay.
the way, I'm getting Manu wants to get in. Let's see
Okay, Manu joining
if
in again. Great,
is
excellent.
joining again. Everything that can go wrong today is going to go wrong. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm still in this beautiful place in Geiranger, sorry, in Norway. It's beautiful. Anybody who wants to visit, like the Nordics, I've lived in Sweden for 20 years. Fuck Sweden. There's nothing there. It's just flatlands. So if you want to see those, like, scenic, beautiful places, mountains, rivers, beautiful cabins on the hills, Norway is where it's at. Let me just double check. Okay, so Manu's still doing his thing. Let's
Yeah,
Well,
move on to the next.
I'm
Oh,
here.
thing.
is here. Okay, we'll use your
Oh,
voice, Manu.
yeah,
We'll use your
voice.
voice.
Yes, I'm giving up. I just for background, I just updated my processor and motherboard, so I didn't do all the checks before joining the call that everything would be fine. So I clearly need to update some stuff. I just quickly the news about, sorry to come back quickly, the news about Disney and the kids and YouTube. I think you can relate that to the trend news below, which is smartphone no most use screen for watching new video content. These are
Wow.
linked. But what does it
Wow.
mean? It also means that well, maybe we need to design movies with a different picture format, right? I mean, maybe 16 by 9 is an old school format, and the future is going to be a different type of format, different type of filming, which is already what YouTube streamers are doing. So that's one thing. There was another thing, but I don't remember. But that's the idea that we will have to adapt to what tools the audience is using to watch content, right? And then I have as a kind of a headline at the bottom, it's video games replaced television for the kids as a screen use, but now videos are kind of replacing video games as a screen use. So it's kind of a complete circle. And I am now discussing with my kids, and I'm like, if you are having screen time, I prefer that you play video games than just watching videos, which is something that was maybe not the case 20 years ago, where people were more afraid of video games and were like, don't play too much video game. Just TV, we know what's on TV, and it's our world as older people. And now it's kind of almost the opposite. As a 40-year-old person, I'm not sure about what they are watching on YouTube or on TikTok, but I know what type of games they are playing. So it's kind of a funny how it's going circle.
And to that point, Manu, like, video games is a forward-leaning entertainment. You have to be engaged, right?
Yeah.
And I recently, me myself, I wasn't a Instagram or TikTok person, and I did download it just to kind of like understand what's going on, because obviously you have to keep up with the kids.
Yeah.
And it is such a crazy zombification of people. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And it's something like I'm battling.
And the fun part is that kids would even watch videos of people playing video games, but not playing the video games, right? I mean, Twitch has been there for a while, but I think in TikTok, you have so much video game content in there. You're like, you don't even need to play. And I think what's interesting is the accessibility of the interface, of the format. The short time means you can eat very easily very small bites of content, which is different from watching a streamer for 5 hours in a row. So there is a lot of there that's very interesting on how people are consuming media right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all had the feeling, right? Of you're like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna play what's a big involved game. I'm gonna play The Witcher 3. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sit in and I'm not gonna skip the cutscenes.
Yeah.
And like it's really hard to make that decision. And generally speaking, you're going to sit on your couch and do absolutely nothing and scroll on your phone for an hour instead. And like that's not just a kid problem. That's an everyone problem. And YouTube is like their version of me scrolling Twitter, basically.
I would actually prefer them, looking at YouTube rather than looking at their phones. But yeah, let's move on to the next item, which is exciting for me personally, based on the past 2 weeks' news. So Respawn did that entire Ubisoft thing with the complicated tables of understanding, like, what is the value and what are you getting? What's happening with? So are they walking back the new Battle Pass, or what's going on?
Somehow they are there. I mean, again, I know it felt difficult to understand, but there was not increased complication of the battle pass. It was just a replacement, and it's not what's not more complicated. It's just that they didn't allow to use Apex coin to buy the battle pass. But now they've reverted that decision, so now you can use your Apex coins. So it's kind of they went with many changes, and now they are taking a step back on some of the changes in the hope that players will not be as unhappy as they were with the new changes.
That's interesting. I feel like that's why people should hire people like us. Like, you just said everything I need to know as a player in like one sentence.
Well, maybe they know too, but they still try. There's always possibility. You see how far you can go. I mean, all the games at some point have to test the limit of acceptance from the players, right? And sometimes you go too far. So,
okay.
But, yeah.
And I think they're probably right. That probably is the step too far, because like at the end of the day, if they want to like sell more shit, they can sell more shit. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But removing what is essentially the free-to-play tier from the Battle Pass entirely, you can wonder if there should be well, I guess it's the free-to-play premium tier, right? There's the free-to-play tier, then there's the free-to-play premium where you're paying for Apex coin, and regardless of the business decision, that is a major loss, and so people are going to feel that in a different way than they will simply adding in a higher tier.
So I can't check it right now in my setup, but I would love to see if there's any impact, if at all, on the player numbers. That would be interesting to see.
Apex Steam charts.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go back here quickly, and then we can go back to you, Dave.
Yeah, totally.
So Concord,
I think.
Concord is the. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't see any
major
difference. No.
Interesting.
Player count is not the only thing for a game like this, right? You can have 1 billion people playing, but if they're not paying you any money, you're not making any money. So it is possible that there are changes on that side.
Okay. Next item on the list. This was one of the most interesting showings of a new game at the last PlayStation showcase, and then people were heavily let down because they understood what type of game it is. Concord. It's a hero shooter. Is it an arena hero shooter? Is that correct?
It's more like Overwatch, I believe.
Okay. So what's the news piece here then? What are we looking at?
So last week they had a beta only for, I think, the early access for pre-order people. And they did so many concurrent players, and this time they opened to everybody and they had less players.
Wow.
So that's not showing a lot of hype for the game. And another piece of news was just the Steam beta last week had like 1,000 concurrent player, like nothing.
Well, so, for Concord.
We're still talking about
the same
game. So and this game is not going to be a free to play. It's going to be a $40 game, right? And I think one of the issues you can discuss about the game, about the style and things like that, but it's like it's go in competition with games like Overwatch that are free now, or free to play, and they come with a game which is 40 euro and doesn't seem to bring enough innovation. Helldivers 2 could do that because they came with kind of a new formula, or like formula where there are not many concurrent in the free-to-play space for that type of formula of multiplayer and co-op game. And now, but here Concord, the issue is that they are competing against free-to-play titles, right?
I always thought it was a weird thing of like in this day and age, which is commendable as well, that you're launching a multiplayer only game that you're charging what is it $40? And it's interesting. But so Overwatch, is that still popular today? Or should I say Overwatch 2 rather? Is it on Steam?
Yeah, right. It's not dead. It's still there. It's not at the peak it was before, but this is clearly still there, also on the competitive scene. So yeah, there's not many direct competitors. Right? Valorant is there, have similarities, but it's different. and we have to see also for Concord, we have to see what the new game from Valve is gonna do, right? Because they have also cooking a game which is very similar to Overwatch, like kind of hero shooter. So there are we clearly in a bad spot at this point.
There was a Swedish video game studio that was working on a similar type of thing, like Valorant-ish, like the hero type thing, and they unfortunately went bankrupt a couple months ago. It's an extremely hard, I would say, genre or type of game that you want to go into. But it's commendable that people are trying, so that's interesting.
Overwatch is 2016, right? 8 years ago. You cannot come 8 years ago with not that much of novelty, right? You need to come with something refreshed, otherwise it's not gonna work.
You know, what's more interesting for me is like Team Fortress 2 is like still a top 20 game on Steam, I believe. Is that correct? I mean, I'm double checking on my side as well.
So that's just keeps trucking along. But I think that really indicates the biggest problem of how these things work. That like time doesn't make things weaker. It can often make things stronger opponent because people are just invested at that point. And so the idea of it comes back to the YouTube thing. The idea of summoning up the mental energy to try a new game rather than just hop into the game that you already know, you already have the sort of neural pathways wired to get what you want out of that game. It's tough.
I do want to share this to your point, Dave, about time. Give me a second here. Let me pull this up. Look at that. This is Team Fortress 2. Currently 60,000 players, peak 80,000. But it's crazy. Like this, we're talking, what was this, 2008-ish? 10-ish? Somewhere there. And there are more players today playing Team Fortress 2 than there has ever been. Ever. Crazy. But
Team Fortress 2.
I'm very curious now to see if they are they even doing content? Like, are they supporting the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So there are two things. The population of Steam is increasing, so you have a higher addressable audience just because more people are on Steam. It's free, and also recently they did some update, I think, to fix some problems with the game. I don't remember the details. I don't know if it was related to multiplayer or to servers, or there was something meaningful that was welcomed by the players finally. So this created a surge. And just one last thing maybe on this topic. There is another hero shooter coming, which is Marvel Rivals.
Wow.
And that one, I just read something. They have 22 times more players than Concord in their closed beta. It's a closed beta, right? A closed beta versus an open beta. And they have 22 times more players in a closed beta. So
that's interesting.
I think it's like everybody's decided it's the time to do hero shooters again, which is kind of
the resurgence of hero shooters. And on that note, if anybody has $5 million to sink, roughly-ish, then you can actually save that Fall Damage game. I forgot the name of that, so just Google Fall Damage and you'll find the studio and see if you want to save that. And you want to go on the hero shooter train again. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. What was it? Humble Games. That one actually I saw a couple days ago on LinkedIn or something like that. So they're restructuring. Is that correct? That's interesting.
They're firing everybody and restructuring somehow.
So. And we kind of saw some of that because I had former colleagues who kind of jumped ship. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? But is there anything we want to talk about specifically related to this? Is there anything
No,
noteworthy?
for me, I think it's iconic, right? Humble Bundle, Humble Games is part of the same galaxy, and there were some iconic games published by Humble Games, like A Hat in Time and some other games. I think it's always sad to hear, but I think they were probably more under the spotlight than other indie publishers. So it's kind of
Yeah, I had time was a while ago. It's indie game publishing. It's a tough business because the hits basically have to pay for the rest of your business, and if you go too long without one of them, it's just rough.
That's interesting. I actually was very surprised. I did hear about some very big investments on games. Like we were talking like $5+ million. I wonder what's going to happen with those games. I can't unfortunately talk about them, but I know that they did make these types of investments. But it's sad to hear again. Let me look at the news here again and see what's interesting. So we talked about Concord and Apex and Humble. So let's look at the remaining two on the news side. So Warner Brothers acquires Player First Games.
Yep, that's
yeah.
the studio from give me 2 seconds. Multiversus, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Multiverse has struggled with its player count a little bit, but it was a tight, well-made product, and so I think they're not buying the game. They truly are buying the studio. So I think those guys, that team is talented, and they could be used in all kinds of ways.
And
Cool.
I want to link that news with two news in the trend. One is the fact that Hasbro is hiring ex-video game people to lead their video games initiatives. And also, I just want quickly to mention the Lego is launching Fortnite sets, right? Like building.
Wow.
What does it show for me? It shows that a lot of companies in the entertainment industry, in the kids business, are kind of lining up to be more proactive in the video game industry. And they're probably more into thinking they can build their own stuff instead of just selling the IPs to developers, to publishers, and to studios. So I think there is a movement there. And I think we talked about Hasbro and maybe Mattel last time when we discussed about nostalgia. And I mean, it's like, when are we going to get more video games from Transformers and some other IPs, right? Why don't we have Sims Barbie, or I don't know, that there are things you can think in that, like, because again, nostalgia. We are adults. We played physical toys where we were young, and there are still some IPs that are relevant. There's gonna be a movie about like Masters of the Universe again, and there are some other things happening. So I think physical toys, the future of physical toys, is maybe also even more into video games. So that's why I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen. And I remember a few years ago, Warner Bros. Games was like, okay, maybe it's for sale. Maybe they want to get rid of that. But now it seems the opposite. It's more maybe they realize that if they do it right, they have a lot of IPs they can leverage to create great video games and make even more money there maybe than by producing movies.
I mean, Hogwarts Legacy I think, did a lot better than any of the Fantastic Beasts movies. So my guess is that was a huge part of that decision to refocus.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I actually wanted to also bring up this company, Spin Master, which I know is investing even more in the video game space, especially like they obviously own Toca Boca, mobile game company, but they're also been hiring a lot of senior people from the AAA industry, and I'm sure they're like cooking something up on their side from that point of view, and they they have the. I'm trying to find their IPs. Obviously, Paw Patrol is a big one. For those who have kids, they know that. Bakugan is big, and the list goes on. Let's go back to this tab here on the news section. There was one more item on the news section. Assassin's Creed Shadows team acknowledges elements that have caused concern among Japanese fans. Oh, okay. So is that the the Black Samurai topic?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they decided they had to. They decided they had to do it. Basically,
Yeah.
I do always find it funny that people are always complaining about historical accuracy in games, which frequently has racist undertones. Is I think I love people saying it's like if you've got like a gay black person in medieval Poland eating potatoes, the only thing inaccurate about that is the potatoes. But with with Assassin's Creed, like it's a historical game. This is the first time we've ever had a historical protagonist. So from that perspective, it should they're like there's nothing really to complain about here, and yet people have found something for some reason.
Well, it's interesting because Assassin's Creed is also a fictional,
Yeah, and
series. It's not a
Yasuke was a dude.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to trends, then I think you covered like the Lego part, smartphones. We talked about that. Evo that's the esports. And usually, I
Yeah.
associate Evo personally with Street Fighter. What's going on in
Exactly.
Evo?
Exactly. I mean, there was a Evo tournament, I think, a few days ago, and some announce over there. But sometime in trend, I just put things that are a bit old for people that don't know. Everybody
Yep.
just look at the clip. It's just crazy video game memory. It's a competition. Yeah, just watch, enjoy the clip. I think sometimes when some viral clips are worth being more viral because they tend to be forgotten. And I think it's super interesting. It's just a match of a tournament long time ago, and that's kind of one of the first incredible esport video that became viral, right? And since then, you've been a lot of viral clips on League of Legends, on Faker, Faker playing or this kind of stuff or play.
Yeah.
But this is one of the first that became really famous, super interesting. I mean, for me. Yeah.
I know. I think for me, I mean, I love Street Fighter, obviously, but I don't follow Evo that closely. But I think what we're looking at right now is one of the most like profound moments in like especially when it's so close and so tight, and then the person pulls off all these parries of the super move or whatever you want to call it. Sorry for butchering it. And like the entire crowd just goes wild.
Yeah,
It's
in
beautiful.
the same way that you would watch a snippet of Pelé playing a football game, in the past and just scoring an incredible goal. I think it's kind of a type of legendary moments, but in esports. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Fighting games have always made good esports. They're really legible. You can really like even if you don't know anything about Evo, you can you can see what's going on. You can appreciate what's happened.
Exactly.
Funny that like obviously StarCraft and RTSs were gigantic esports. Is it hard to tell what's going on? So, if you don't, basically.
Okay, my friends. One more trend, by the way, or I'm not sure if it's a trend because we actually, we did cover parts of it. I think VR business is like a bit shaky-ish. Meta is apparently unhappy with the amount of money that the VR division is burning. I actually I'm still to this day confused why Facebook bought Meta. Oh, sorry, bought what was that VR
Meta.
company called again? Was it called Meta?
Oculus.
Oculus. Thank you, Oculus. That's the one. I was super confused over why that happened, but I would love to hear from you. Like, what's going on here?
Like that. It seemed like they were planning it to get on the ground floor of like a major technological ways in which they were true. But certainly, one thing taking away is highly recognizable. Like, also, just they've dumped a ton of resources into Oculus. It's like a metaverse vehicle, which is just it's not nearly it's not in so many ways. It's ready for its living in a virtual future. I think that there were challenges here. There were ways to make it work if they just didn't chase this weird dream and actually thought about what their technology could do and sell it.
You know, Dave,
Yeah.
do you remember the days when TVs needed to have 3D?
Yeah, the like 5 days when TVs needed to have 3D.
Yeah, because movies.
I miss those days. That's a
Yeah,
technology I feel like they didn't invest enough into. I mean, you had to have these, ridiculous glasses on to get it to work.
yeah. And I
And
remember
there
talking to
was,
my dad at the time, and he was like, "Do you have to wear the glasses?" No.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like I
but
saw,
exactly.
you know.
there were a couple TVs that didn't require the glasses, right?
Yeah, but you
Or
had to
am
sit
I?
like in a very
Mm,
specific, or I think
oh
it was
yeah,
the 3DS technology, where it was just pretty antithetical to the whole concept of watching TV.
but that's interesting because I feel like that technology, and even on phones, like why is that not a thing? I feel like that could be something to explore. I know I'm being stupid here, but hey, I just feel like they didn't invest enough into it.
All
I
right.
didn't see enough companies burn down. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, let's go back to the news here again. Some rumors, rather. Sorry. Uh, Research identifies suspicious behavior on Steam Marketplace that may suggest money laundering. Is this related in any shape or form to the banana game?
No, you,
No.
I mean, Steam didn't wait, but the banana game to sell skins at a very expensive price of Counter-Strike and on other games. I mean, these are just rumors, right? But there is, if you go your link, you click on the link, this has been like suspected for a long time, right? When you
Yep.
start seeing a large amount of money transaction for digital items, you start wondering what's really happening, right? Because this is very similar to the NFT business when you think about
Gotcha. It's interesting. I mean, it seems like the money laundering people haven't figured out Bitcoin yet. Okay, next rumor. Sorry, give me a second here. What's next for Xbox Game Pass? So okay, Xbox Game Pass had they changed the pricing and they made sure that exclusive games are on the highest tiers of Xbox Game Pass.
it.
What's this item telling us? Cloud only tier, exploring ad-based tier. Oh, good lord. And the return
Um,
of the family plan. Oh, so there was a family plan at one point in time.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there has been a family plan for the just the Xbox Live subscription, right?
Ah,
I think I almost consider to have a follow-up section in the newsletter because this is kind of following up what discussed last week in the same way that the Meta VR news is about what we discussed about VR last week. But anyway, I think you see what's happening, right? And Netflix, on the Netflix, what are they doing? They also introduced a cheaper plan with ads, but now they are stopping it. And I think the subscription service, in the same way that you see with Apex and the Battle Pass, they kind of trying to find new ways to monetize, right? Offering more choice to the viewers in order to acquire some new viewers, and also maybe upsell some other people, right? Because if you create I mean, cloud only tier, it's interesting, which means you don't even need to buy an Xbox anymore or any.
yep.
You just need a screen and something to stream it on the screen. And then the ad-based tier, I think that's not gonna end well probably. But it's also a way to say, okay, it's gonna be cheaper, but you need to watch ad, and also it explains that now we charge you even more for the non-ad subscription. It's always, if you show like a lower value product, it's also a way to increase the perceived value of your expensive product. So they're just, I think, playing around, and then we will see what will come. It's normal to review that on a regular basis.
I think it's sort of like if you imagine playing like Destiny or Borderlands or something.
Hmm.
All of these strategies for survival. Then you get better. That's kind of the same thing here too. it is regular to review this stuff, but they're having to screw around with this stuff and do all this min-maxing, for lack of a better term, and trying to squeeze what they can because they didn't get the big guns that they needed. They bought a ton of studios and has yet to deliver. Has yet to deliver that one knockdown thing that made it all worth it. And then first the one knockdown thing, and then the next one about 3 months later or so. And that whether you're selling subscriptions or whether you're selling boxes or whether you're selling free-to-play experiences, you need the game, and they didn't. It just didn't deliver on the level that it needed to, and so that was why they have to do all this screwing around.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next thing here, which is also interesting. Netflix is making 80 new games added to the 100 you forgot you had. That's interesting.
And this is the same discussion, right? How can you improve the value of your subscription? And now you're giving away a few mobile games, right? That's also probably at some point, maybe Netflix will have a tier with or without video games. If they kind of notice that there are a lot of video game players, that there's kind of a diversifying your offer, and you're like, what can Xbox do? Can they offer something that includes video streaming subscription together with games, right? That's kind of how long will it take maybe to have the Game Pass to be if they create a cloud only Game Pass, can they sell that through Amazon Prime? Because Amazon Prime is where you can buy different type of streaming services within the Amazon Prime umbrella streaming service. So maybe it opens interconnections between the streaming platform and content.
You know what? I feel like what's becoming a bit scary. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing for the consumer, but the Xbox Game Pass. I mean, if you think about the type of game you want to play, like what good game is not? I mean, obviously there are some exclusive games if it's like rights type games, or if it's Valve type games, but games that release on multiple platforms, what good game is not on the Xbox Game Pass? Like the value is off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just confused. Why are they still struggling to get? Is it because they're not available enough on PC to get a wider audience? What's going on there from your point of view?
I think it's a marketing thing, and not necessarily a marketing execution thing, but like it's the same thing with all of video games and arguably all of entertainment, that like the value would become such a weird thing. Like I have 1,000 games in my Steam library that I'm not playing. Some of them are the best games that have ever been made, and that doesn't dampen my desire for new games. So it's not necessarily whether or not that is a good price for the number of games you get, but whether or not it's able to enter the zeitgeist with news stories and new releases. That's the challenge, is coming to the front of people's minds, because availability of high quality content is not really the challenge here in 2024.
I think the quick fix on PC is to release a Game Pass on Steam, right? That's solve every problem they have.
Will Steam allow that?
I don't know, but you always come back to that on PC, right? Gaming on PC, not on Steam. Even EA has the EA Play on Steam.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So if EA Play is allowed to be on Steam, I'm sure Game Pass would be. Steam is very much like, if there's a rule, they do their best to follow it. So subscriptions are allowed. Subscriptions are allowed, right?
But I'm assuming because the EA one, I'm assuming it only contains EA games. Or am I wrong here?
No, they have some. I mean, I don't know. I don't know precisely. No, we can check, but at some point, EA Play had more than just EA games.
Gotcha. Cool. Then let's move on to the last item, which is still interesting to me. No Man's Sky sees nearly 500% increase in PS5 players. I mean, No Man's Sky came out. What was it? Did it come out like No Man's Sky release date? And it was a bare bones game at the time, but the hype was off the charts. 2016, I believe they sold like 8 million copies in the first month or so. Huge hype, huge letdown. But the studio has been keeping at it, and they've been committed. I don't think they've released any other game during the Hello Games, by the way, with the Sean Murray, who's a super, is the word enigmatic? Charming, probably is the more correct word here. He's like, being really transparent and honest with people about, the status of the game. But anyways, so they've done a lot of work on the game since 2016. But what can we learn from this piece?
They're the classic story, right, of a game that people were angry about, and they put their noses down and fixed. There's a lot of other examples of that, from Rainbow Six Siege to Fallout 76, all that stuff. And it's a great story when it works, and we're really happy that it worked here. But I think the reason it was able to work here is because it's a relatively small team, and because they did have that hype, so they were able to get money. I think Sony still had some money in it, and they were able to have the time to do it. And I think for Sean Murray, his feeling was that if he didn't fix this, his reputation and his work would be irreparably damaged. And we'll never know if he was right, because it wasn't, because they did a great job and brought it back. I always dream of, like, I want to write an essay at one point called "Someday I Will Play No Man's Sky." I want to have the life that allows me to enjoy No Man's Sky.
I want to see that, Dave. I really want to see, or rather read that essay. I mean, it seems like they have been slowly but surely increased. And this is like, when we talk about live service games, we usually, like today, if you want to release a new live service game, this is the way to do it, by like having that small team and then slowly building up to a consistent audience.
Premium game.
But it is a live service, though. I mean, considering
they continually update it for free, but like from a monetization point, it is a single purchase, and I think that would be impossible. It would be impossible to withstand this level of support off of a single purchase if they weren't the small team in the way they are.
Yeah, I think that all the money they got at the start allowed them to cover the dev costs for like a few years, and then probably the sales kept coming, because if you are looking at a crafting multiplayer game in space, you don't have so much choice, right? That's kind of one of a kind. And I think also, the fact that they added the multiplayer element probably increased significantly their addressable market.
Okay, gentlemen. So
it was good to have it delivered on.
Awesome. Guys, I'm actually surprised my battery held up. I'm at 52% now, which is pretty good. So, yay MacBooks connected to 2 iPhone chargers. That works to a certain degree. Really want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this. And for those who are watching, here's a couple, views from where I am right now. Last time we spoke, we did not have any socials. I mean, if you do want to follow, mostly go to Substack, mightydiamonds.substack.com. Mighty.diamonds is our website. We do offer a bunch of services and consultations for games and studios and across the publishing, across the business of games. I don't know, anything you guys want to add?
Nope.
We're all good.
We're good.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Peace. Okay. If we stick around, let me just stop the recording.